You good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, boo.
That's low on cash.
All right, boo.
All right. Okay, I'll call you back in a later. Here at McDonald's.
All right, I'm doing the class.
You going to order Chinese? Okay.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
Low on cash.
All right, greetings, 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 greetings. This is I, your king, King Clifford Jefferson, Senator Godfrey, the fifth Canavan Jew, son of folk, ruler of Jerusalem. I'm the reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, which we know here at the Third Temple English Church of England is the King of Peace. I greet you in the name of all our ancestors, our forefathers, our foremothers, all those who came before us, all those who will come after us, as we being their successors. I greet you under the principles that all know is under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is part 4. All right, part 4 of the Exchequer of the Jews is in the courts of New Jersey. The Exchequer of the Jews are in the courts of New Jersey. Okay? Court case we're using is New Jersey versus Delaware. United States, New Jersey Supreme Court of New Jersey. Okay? This will be the final episode of the lectures in regards to the Exchequer of the Jews are in the Chancery Court of New Jersey. Right? So without further ado, we get started. As always, I want to give honor to my queen, Sister Galveston from the House of Galveston, as well as Archbishop from the House of Belmont, Bishop Searchy from the House of Search, as well as all my other officers who are present and those who are in disposal, as well as all the members, all the elders, all those who are astronomy members, which includes all the elders, the children, all those who are lost, all those who want to be found. I now greet you in the name of King Edgar the Peaceful, which I am the reincarnation of, which is your savior in this day and time. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Third Temple English Church of England. And as always, it's a blessing to be amongst my people. Everybody hold that thought for a second. You know me, I'm always moving. Which is 1 second. Yeah, right. Hopefully, won't be any more interruptions. Greetings, 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 greetings. Council Searchy, Bishop Searchy from the House of Searchy. Good to have you as always, moderating for the Third English Church of England. Once again, it's a privilege to be the king, as well as to be a service to you, as well as all the other officers who are taking up responsibility of being uh, the what I should say, the stone or the foundation for which this church is built upon. Okay, so once again, I honor you greatly for the work that you have put forth, as well as the work that you will continue to do. And you have a great teacher, Archbishop of Belmont. I think highly of. And once again, it's all about the estate. All right. It's all about protecting the estate. As you can see, the exchequer behind me represents our estate. Okay. And all the boxes on the exchequer represents the feudal tenures on that estate, which is the allodial estate, which is represented by the king, or what we should say, the crown. All right. And each block, I don't care what it is, it can be a resident, it can be an apartment, it can be a store, it can be a wash, a laundromat. Uh, greetings, Hunter. We're not Moors, Mr. Hunter. We're not Moors. You know, we don't have any connection in Chicago. Um, once again, East Checker represents feudal tenure estate. Yeah, each checker or each spot on this exchequer. Exchequer means a current account, and each spot represents an estate. All right, which is it represents a feudal tenure. All right, a feudal tenure, which is based upon you being in a position as a landlord. Okay, a landlord, and a landlord is under authority of the grantor. All right, because in order for you to become a landlord, you must have the authority to be a lord. All right, and most of the lords were associated with the council of the king, called the king's council. All right, and they in turn create lesser lords. Okay, which we whatever term you want to call them, as you can see there on the checkerboard, they're displayed as pawns, but they will be because your subjects or your fiefs or your commoners or those who you employ, etc. All right, and like I said, represents a community, a land, a community of family working together for the whole. Okay, and we know that it represents the public domain. All right. So the reason why I choose to have this background because it represents, based off the lesson that I bring it to you, current record of all assets, which will be anything movable and non-movable, real and not real or personal property. All right, which is all exists on the land. Okay, everything that we have exists on the land. Everything is subject to the law of the land. In this case, we're talking about this land we call North America. Okay, from the days of colonization, from the days of those who existed on this particular landmass, up to the time of what we call colonization, discovery, conquest, uh, 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 and whatever method that you can come up with. We must understand uh, the purpose and intent of what it is that I'm bringing to you in regards to what's required for every member in regards to their inheritance. Okay, this is class right now, brother. You have to leave your information, and we'll get back to you in regards to your question. But your question is about your British estate or securing a British estate. We're not British. Okay, we're not of British descent. So I think you got the wrong platform, and I don't think I can assist you in regards to that. Okay, so you're welcome to view the lesson, as well as ask questions relevant to the lesson. Other than that, if you don't have questions relative to what's being said today, you should are able to view and watch the lesson, as an inquiry. But as far as your question, we here at the Third to English Church of England cannot help you. We are Anglo-Saxon Berbers. We're not a Irish, British, German, or any other descent, but Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And with that, we'll continue with this lecture. Counter Searchy, if he has any more questions up to that, please answer him in a fashionable manner and make sure that he understands that we are Anglo-Saxon Berbers. We are a religious society, and our job is to enlighten our members, our citizens, who are the subjects of the Kingdom of England. Okay, and we keep it within that spirit. All right, so your best remedy will be going to those who are British ancestry and are British descent, and that will be those who are your monarchs, your Scottish monarch. But as I know right now, none of them exist. Okay, so it would be definitely good for you to watch this video so you can become more informative about securing your estate. Okay, as far as asking the question, that I cannot do. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. I appreciate it. All right, let's get started. So we understand that this checkerboard that everyone is usual to actually represents a landmass. Okay, it represents a landmass. It's a game being played. Okay, two opposing sides. All right, for control of a land. Okay, a territory. All right, a land or a territory. All right, the landmass or the territory that is in question belongs to one of the parties in this matter. Okay, the land actually belongs to one of the parties on either side. The question is whose side actually owns what. Okay, ownership, right of possession. Okay, free and clear. All right, that's the question. All right, so we know that the history pertaining to North America, based upon the history that's preserved here, what we call North America, starts with the British. All right. It ended with the colonies, now called the United States of America, but it was conveyed from the British. The British monarch that was here that left things still intact was King George III. King George III, King George III descended down from King George II, who descended down from King George I, who got their authority from Queen Anne. Queen Anne was the Queen of England as a Scottish monarch, meaning that she was de facto operating under what they call a commonwealth, which we now call a republic. And under that capacity, the lands were called or subject to what we call charters, which were called royal colonies, which is what you call these checkboards on these boxes on this checkerboard. All right, they're called colonies. They're called feudal estates or land tenures. Okay, that were either given from the crown, but in this case, it was given from the British monarch who was operating under what they call under an interregnum, which is called a commonwealth or republic. Okay, or a better name will be a rump parliament. A rump parliament. Okay, so if you didn't have uh 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 if you wasn't a de jure king, then you didn't have the right to give any grants to convey lands to any landlord. Okay, because if that is the case, then that will be subject to what we call fee simple, other than what we call entail. Fee simple, other than what we call entail. Crown land is entail because it's personified by the crown, right? Which is inseparable from the crown. It's something what we call um uh I had trouble with this word again. Uh, mortgage. Queen of Victoria, not Queen of Victoria. Eminent, not eminent domain. What I hate when I forget that word. Dead hand. What is that word? Mortgage. Something to deal with mortgage. Man, I can't. I hate when I forget that word, man. Wow, it happened to me in the last class, so forgive me. Nah, not encumbrances. It's a word dealing with when property that's inseparable from the church. All right, it's considered. Um, come on, King. Um, I know Archbishop would get it from the door. Uh, and it church, church. Uh, it's not gonna come. Y'all gotta forgive me. It'll come. I remember. All right, let's get back to class. All right, so either way, we're talking about uh property. All right, property belongs to the crown. Right, the crown is personified by the king, and all property that's personified by the king is called intel, meaning that you can't sell it. All right, you can't sell intel or land. Be simple. You can sell it. You can make money off it. That's why it's called fee simple. There's three types of estate we talked about in my last class. Fee simple, fee determinable, and life estate. Okay, that's how conveyances are done here in North America. All right. But in England, it's not transferred or conveyed that way, which is the question because the way it's being done here is by way of what we call prescription of sovereignty. So let me show you the crown. Bear with me. I'm gonna find that movie. Get it all the time. It's a Latin word. Situate. This is about situate trust. Might pop up. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta find this word. Statute of mortmain. Yes, that's what it's called. Statute of mortmain. Dead place. All right. I know I wasn't bugging. All right. Statute of mortmain. Let me just pull this up. See, I don't think I'm messing around. Buying time, right? Passed by our ancestors, Edward the First, right? Passed by Edward the First. Statues of mortal man. How many of you heard of that word? Statues of mortal man was the two enactments in 1279. Okay, the statute of mortal man were two enactments in 1279 by Edward the First, Edward the seventh Edward the First, and 18th Edward the First. We know Queen of Pretoria deals with the stating that you cannot sell land. All right, you cannot subinfeudate land, do subinfeudation. All right, instead you must do it by what we call substitution. All right, when you subinfeudate land, that means that you sell it, which is the result of what we call fee simple, which is the practice that the United States convey land, highest form of conveyance. But under the statute of mortal man passed by King Edward the First, yeah, Queen of Pretoria was the law passed by Edward the First, which dealt with land not being sold. All right, it only passed supposed to pass intel, which was the the um the um point of it was the core warranto, which means the orders are so called why one did such a thing. Okay, so statute Queen of Pretoria was passed by Edward the First, which he also passed the core warranto, and he also passed the statutes of mortal main. Okay, the statutes of mortal main only comes in effect when there's an interregnum. Okay, when there's an interregnum, when there's no demise from the transfer of one king to the next king, which is why they call the demise of the king. Okay, the movement of, because remember, people change, but positions don't. If a person don't transfer to that office becomes vacant. Okay, so someone must fulfill that office as king. All right, no one wanted to fulfill that obligation as king because they want to use the king's property. All right, by giving charters or deeds by way of being simple to people that's other than heirs, as Queen Imperators, which is an act passed by Edward the First, stipulated. All right. So as a result of that, the statute of mortal main was put in effect. Statute of mortal main was passed before Queen Imperators. Queen Imperators was passed in 1290. The statute of mortal main was passed in 1279, already preserved just in case we had a problem with the demise of the from one king to the other in regards to the institution of what we call the interregnum, which was instituted by what we call those British monarchs. Okay, we must understand this. Statute of Mortimer, passed in the reign of Edward I, aiming at preserving the kingdom's revenue by preventing land from passing into the possession of the church. What church? The Church of England. What is the Church of England? The Church of England was the church that was created going back to Pope Gregory I. Pope Gregory I under Augustine of Canterbury, Pope Gregory Pope Gregory I under Augustine of Canterbury had all the Anglo-Saxons converted to what we call Christianity in 597 A.D. Okay, right. This is why you had what we call the English Benedictine Reform by our incarnated Jesus Christ, because I'm the reincarnation of in this day and time, King Edgar Jefferson, or King Edgar the Peaceful, or King Edgar the Peaceable. Right. Very important for you to understand that. So, Statute of Mortimer was a law or an act of legislation passed by Edward I, son of Henry III, son of Henry II, the son of Godfrey V, kind of Van Jews, the son of Folk, where my surname Jefferson comes down from, which was aimed at preserving the kingdom's revenue by preventing land from passing into possession of the church. Possession of property by a corporation such as the church was known as mortmain, literally means a dead hand. In medieval England, feudal estates generated taxes for the king, known as feudal incidents, principally on the grant of or inheritance of the estate. If an estate became owned by a religious corporation which could never die, could never attain majority, it can never be attained for treason. You hear that? This is the reason why you had the Clarendon Constitution and the assize courts, or the assize of Clarendon, passed by who? Henry II, son of Godfrey, the fifth kind of man Jew, for this particular reason. Okay? So it said in medieval England, feudal estates generally taxes for the kings known as feudal estates, principally on the grant or inheritance of an estate. If an estate became owned by a religious corporation which could never die, it could never attain majority and could never be attained for treason. These taxes never became payable. It was akin to the estate being owned by the dead, hence the term, dead hand. The status of mortmain was meant to reestablish the prohibition against donating land to the church for the purpose of avoiding feudal services, a prohibition which had originated in the Magna Carta in 1215, the written code of the Magna Carta. We know what the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica said about the uncode Magna Carta, as well as the government that created that was practicing the uncode Magna Carta, going back to Wittemar, which was the government of what we call the Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Peace, 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 brother Rich from the House of Spencer, if I'm not mistaken. You got to change the your name, because I like to actually speak to the individual. We don't use AKAs or DBA, what they call doing business as. Okay, so please change that when you have some time, brother Rich from the House of Spencer. Great to have you here again today. All right, all right. So we say the statute of mortmain was meant to reestablish prohibition against donating land to the church for the purpose of avoiding feudal services. A prohibition which had originated in the Magna Carta in 1215 was specifically defined in its 1217 issue. But King John, the original signatory of the Magna Carta, died the following year, and his son Henry III did not enforce the prescription, and to the contrary, showed great defenses to the church. Henry the son, Edward I, desired to reestablish the precedent set by the 1215 and the 1217 issue of Magna Carta. Remember that word, prescription. Thank you, Brother Rich from the House of Spencer. Henry the son, Edward I, desired to reestablish the precedent set forth by the 1215 and the 1217 issue of the Magna Carta. Now, remember, it said right above it in the first paragraph, where did it say it? It said Henry III did not enforce the prescriptions, and to the contrary, showed great defense to the church. Hence the word prescription, because we're going to find that word in a second. Okay, the statute of mortmain thus provided that no estate, you hear me, could be granted to a corporation without what? A royal consent. However, these statutes provided ineffective in practice, and the problem of the church lands persisted due to the development of the device of the cess-to quae, i.e., the trust, i.e., the escrow account, okay, i.e., by these brokers, all right, used which sidestepped the royal courts and began in the ecclesiastical courts. The development of the law of trust, which separated the legal ownership from the right of occupation or the use of land. Y'all better listen to your king. Y'all better listen to your king. I got to read this paragraph again. Hence, Henry's sons, Henry III's son, Edward I, desired to reestablish the precedents set by the 1215 and 1217 issue of the Magna Carta. The statute of mortmain thus provided that no estate could be granted to a corporation without a royal consent. However, these statutes provided ineffective in practice, and the problem of the church land persisted due to the development of the device of the cess-to quae, which sidestepped the royal courts and began in the ecclesiastical courts the development of the laws of trust, which separate the legal ownership from the right of occupation or use of land, i.e., usury. The issue was only finally resolved in 1535, when Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries, confiscated all the monastic lands for the crown, though the bishops remain endowed with much land. Okay? Y'all better listen to what I'm saying. It gets better, y'all. It gets better. Alienation and the statutes of Queen Imperators, all right, which was passed after the statutes of Mortimer. Queen Imperators was passed in 1290 along with his companion Cor Warranto, which is prerogative writ, or order to show just cause. In England, in the 12th and 13th century, the legal ownership of the land was defined through the hierarchical system of estates. The monarch was the ultimate owner of all land in the rim, i.e., the allodial land, all right, the exchequer, the current account, okay, and out of his estate, lesser estate existed. These are the checkerboards on the allodial board, okay. The monarch was the ultimate owner of the land in the rim, and out of his estate, lesser estate existed, held by individuals known as tenant in chief. Further estates could be created out of these estates in a process called subinfeudation, which is called common recovery, which is what resulted in what we call feaceable, which is the practice being practiced here today in North America. Did y'all hear me? Did y'all understand me? Did y'all hear me? Did y'all understand me? Then the next question, are y'all going to listen? Are y'all going to listen or are you going to ignore? Okay? Why? Because it mentioned prescription. What is prescription? I'm about to blow this spot up, y'all. Prescription is an international law, is sovereignty transfer of a territory by open encroachment by the new sovereign upon the territory for a prolonged period of time, acting as the sovereign without protest or other contest by the original sovereign. It's analogous to common law doctrine of easement by prescription by private real estate. The doctrine legalized de jure the de facto transfer of sovereignty caused in part by the original sovereign's extended negligence in or neglect of the area in question. Did y'all hear that? Okay, so why you think they're not operating under why they operate under the Commonwealth or the Republic that you have now? Why you think they're doing that? Because it is prescription of sovereignty. It started with Great Britain, the British, Scottish, Ashkenazi Jews, and they passed it on to the colonies through what we call the plantation of oysters, which were the Ulster Scottish, who are descended from these Ashkenazi Jews or Scottish Jews who migrated from Jerusalem when they were expelled from Jerusalem by Edward I. Okay, because we know Edward I was the last crusaders in the last crusade that actually took place in what we call Tunisia. Okay, Tunisia, which the capital city of Tunisia is Tunis. Okay, we must understand this. So we understand that the jure is the legal right to do so, and the de facto is the ability to do so, the factual ability to do so. So under the laws of evidence, it's based upon presumption of a fact. Okay, a presumption of a fact. We have now shown that everybody other than Anglo-Saxon Berbers are using a prescription of sovereignty transfer to still lead states as a result of ain't no heirs there. So if there ain't no heirs, then it falls under what they call easement by prescription. What is easement by prescription? Let's look. An easement is a non-possessory right to use in or enter onto real property of another without actually possessing it. Did you hear me, y'all? Because 99.90% of all people are in this predicament, except me, except your king, because it's the king's property. The king represents the crown. The crown represents entail land. If there ain't no king, then it automatically goes back to the crown by way of escheatment, which falls under what they call that term, statutes of mortmain. A dead pledge. The United States pledged under the Articles of Confederation to the crown that was being overseen by the monarchs of Great Britain, who were Scottish monarchs. Okay? I like that counter search to you, but you can't have it. I like that. That was nice. All right. Let's go back to prescription. I better register for class, boy. I'm telling you, boy. All right. Prescription of sovereignty. All right, let's move forward. Mortmain, dead account. All right. Everybody got to answer to the Lord. Okay. Everyone got to give an account for his or their own actions. Okay. This is Judgment Day, where Alpha the Great called the Dome's Book. All right. The Day of Judgment. It not only included the history going back to the conversion of the Anglo-Saxon burghers back in Kent, where Ethelbert of Kent. It not only included going back to the kingdom of Mercia with Indea Mercia, was it Indea Mercia? It not only included, it also included the Mosaic Code, okay? That's dealing with the 12 tribes, okay? All that is, and what they did, William the Conqueror did by creating what they call the Doomsday Book. Everybody heard that? The Doomsday Book. All right. All land was recorded. All right. Every record and is governed under the statutes of frauds. Okay. Every contract must be in writing. Every contract. All right. Let's get there. Glad I got that word, statutes of mortmain. All right, so let's get back to it. We know that the Ashkenazi Jews, I got to stay here. I have to stay here. This is not because I'm prejudiced. It's because he who writes your books sets your timeline. Time never was when the Anglo-Saxon purpose was not. So life and time come when we begin, the time will come when we will be no more. We know the Ashkenazi Jews were descendants of who? Let's see. Every contract. Ashkenazi Jews, we're dealing with the etymology of the word. Everybody hold that thought. What y'all really need to understand that what y'all receiving here free comes at a cost to activate what you're receiving here for free. Because even if you know this information, it still won't help you outside the church. It's not going to help you outside the church. All right. This is the reason why there was a separation of church and state. All right. The purpose of that was the outside of the church was called the wilderness. Okay. It was called the wilderness. If you like that, watch this. This is going to scare the shit out of people. Check this out. Now, my last name is Jefferson. Right? Son of God, the fifth kind of Jew, who loved Jerusalem. All right? That's where my surname comes from. Now, look what Thomas Jefferson said. It's better for you to not know this than to know this and not follow it, or you will be judged accordingly. Separation of church and state is a metaphor paraphrased by Thomas Jefferson and used in discussion regarding the Establishment Clause. The Establishment Clause is based upon the prejudice of the Clarendon Constitution passed by Henry II, King of England, son of Godfrey the Fifth Kind of Jew, son of Folk, ruler of Jerusalem, where my surname Jefferson comes from, which happens to be the so-called name Thomas Jefferson have, but his name is not associated with any genealogy. It's only based upon the color of skin, based upon the Naturalization Act of 1790. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I just said? So if he understands that he can affiliate himself with the surname as a part of the religious body politic, where the surname surrendered down from, going back to the Plantagenet crown, because he will be in trouble. Why? Because he's in the wilderness. He migrated by what we call the Great Wagon Road. Anybody ever heard of that term? The Great Wagon Road, which actually started where? In Philadelphia. All right. Then to Georgia, then to North Carolina. All right. This is after William Penn colonized North America by claiming land in North America by grant given to him by Charles II, which was a Newland boy grant, because the grant that he was conveyed to him was not based upon how grant was conveyed under what we call livery and seisin, which is called the twig and turf ceremony. Okay, that ceremony goes back to Alfred the great grandson, Ashton, which means noble stone. Okay, noble stone. All right, y'all better listen to me. Listen to what Thomas Jefferson said based upon the separation of church and state. Okay, what he said. The principles is paraphrased from Thomas Jefferson's separation between church and state. It has been used to express a understanding of the intent and functions of this amendment, which allows freedom of religion. That's a violation of law. It is generally traced to the January 1st, 1802 letter by Jefferson addressed to Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut and published in the Massachusetts newspaper. So he's saying freedom of religion is what they practice. That's a violation of law. All right? A violation of law. Why? Jefferson wrote, believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate power of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sobbing reverence that the act of the whole American people who declare that their legislators should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. So the church religion they want to practice is that of the state and not that of the church. Okay, did you hear what I said? The religion they want to practice is that of the state and not that of the church, because the church practice that was in that time was considered a body of politics. Okay, even though it was Anglican, it was a body of politics. If you didn't follow the government of Rome, you got punished by the government of Rome. Now they separated that punishment because they separated from the Church of England. Okay, adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of the conscious, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural rights in opposition to his social duty. Okay? So you must understand that when you separate church from state, you separate the body of politics of God's church from your, which is your protection. All right. And now your protection comes from the state, which makes you what? State property and not God property. Let's see. Jefferson reflects other thinkers, including Roger Williams, a Baptist dissenter and founder of the provinces of Rhode Island. Okay. Our province is still a property subject to what we call the Commonwealth. Okay. He wrote, when they, the church, have opened a gap in the hedge or wall of separation between the guarding of the church and the wilderness of the world, God has even broke down the wall itself, removed the candlestick, etc., and made his guarding a wilderness as it is this day. So that's talking about that separation of wall and church. All right, that separates the wall and church, because they're saying that they're in the wilderness because the candlestick is not there. That candlestick represents the king, the Lord. Okay? It represents the king. And that therefore, if he will ever please to restore his garden in paradise again, it must of necessity be walled and peculiarly unto himself from the world. And all that be saved out of the world are to be transplanted out of the wilderness of the world. Did you hear that? That's the day of resurrection. That's the day of judgment. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. What is New Jersey called? The Garden State. You know, when you go back to the time of the Berbers was found in London, and London is found in Berkshire. Okay, we know that when you're dealing with London, London is the city. All right, London is the city for Rome, had the city in Rome, and London had the city in England. In England, it was called Londonwick, and in London, it was called Londinium. Londinium is associated with Rome, and London is associated with the Anglo-Saxon Berbers, because you know the government that they had right back then was called Witten, as confirmed by the Scottish Jews or the Ashkenazi Jews, as tell it in a 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay? Encyclopedia of Britannica. At the Ashkenazi Jews. The name Ashkenazi derives from the biblical figure of the Ashkenaz, the first son of Gomer, son of Japheth, who represents on the Tino mat Europe, son of Noah. Okay, so we know that uh, 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 Japheth represents Europe, Shem represents Asia, and Ham represents Africa. Okay, Ham represents Africa. But I didn't bring this out last time. Let's go to the ancient Libya. Be in the world, but not of this world. Everybody heard that scripture before? Okay? Be in the world, but not of this world. I'm giving you a view outside of this world, of the world that we don't or assume to not exist anymore. Okay? You know, the T and O map, the three continents was Europe, Asia, and Cam or Ham. According to Herodias, the map shows Europe, Asia, and Libya. Okay? Libya. You see that? I don't know how genuine this map is, but we see what it shows. All right? We see what it shows. It does not show Africa. It shows Libya. You know, Libya goes back to the Meswest dynasty. All right? The Meswest dynasty, which occurred in the 753 BC under the 22nd and the 23rd dynasty of Berbers called by the Egyptians Libu. Okay? As stated in the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm not going back there now because we've seen it plenty of times. Okay? We've seen it plenty of times. So back to the Ashkenazi Jews, once again, that's the last time I'm going back here. Y'all know y'all tired. Right? One thought leads me to another place. Ashkenazi Jews were descended down from Gomer, son of Japheth, one of the sons of Noah. From the biblical facts, which are not concrete, okay? They are not concrete. The concrete is what I'm giving you now. All right, let's see. Rashai, by the High Middle Ages period, Talmudic commentator like Rashai began to use Ashkenaz to designate Germany, earlier known as Lothair, where especially in Rhineland communities of spireworms and manes, the most important Jewish communities arose. Rashi used to describe Yiddish in Byzantium and Syrian. Jewish letters referred to the Crusaders as Ashkenazim. Okay? Given those close links between the Jewish communities of France and Germany following the Carolingian unification, which is called the Carolingian Empire, the term Ashkenazi came to refer to the Jews of both medieval Germany and medieval France. Okay? Let's go back down a little bit further. Early Middle Ages. Charlemagne expansion of the Frank Empire around 800 included northern Italy and Rome, brought on brief periods of stability and unity in Francia. This created opportunity for Jewish merchants to settle again north of the Alps. Charlemagne granted the Jews freedom similar to those once enjoyed under the Roman Empire. In addition, Jews from southern Italy fleeing religious persecution began to move onto the Central Europe. Returning to Frankish lands, many Jewish merchants took up occupation in finance and commerce, including money lending or usury. Okay? Church legislation banned Christians from lending money in exchange for interest. From Charlemagne's time to the present, Jewish life in Northern Europe is well documented. Did you hear that? It's well documented. We know that this is a page from the Ashkenazi Jews, and it showed that the Ashkenazi Jews, who are now called Scottish Jews, are now going to be termed Ulster and Scottish Jews by way of the plantation that was planned by King James VI of Scotland and is soon to be the first king of England named James, going back to Charlemagne. And we see Charlemagne was king of the Franks from 768 and king of Lombard from 774, and the emperor of what is now known as the Carolingian Empire. And the Carolingian Empire goes back to what we call Carolingian, Merovingian, and Merovingians were started by Clovis the First, or the Clovis culture, which you will find in Pennsylvania. Okay, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania in North America was actually called before its statehood, was called the province of Pennsylvania by way of William Penn. Okay, of William Penn, we all know who William Penn is, right? Okay, we're gonna talk about him today. So let's go back to plantation of the ocean. All right. Now let's do this. Ulster and Scottish. Let's go there first. Let's go there. Now, once again, as I said a couple of minutes ago, that a lot of you are receiving this information free. A lot of people charge for this information. All right. People try to get rich off this information. All right. That's not our intentions here at the Third Tiberian Church of England. It's our job to enlighten you because I could be making money off this as well. I choose not to because what profits the man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? What would he give in exchange for his soul? His consciousness, nothing. Okay. So now, with that in mind, a lot of you think that as a result of the information that you're going to be well off. Okay. And you're not going to be well off. Okay. And like I said, it's better you to not know this and than to know this and not follow it. Because with great power comes great responsibility. Okay? It comes great responsibility. I sacrifice my time, my life, my well-being for you all. Okay? No one else is giving you this, but everybody else is getting paid for what they're doing. Okay? They're getting paid. All right. And your king is giving this to you for free. And we can spend our life going out buying everything we want, everything you need, and everything we want, everything we need does not give you your salvation based off the evidence where salvation is pointing to. Okay. That's at your grasp. Okay. Because the salvation that's at your grasp that you're receiving from me is coming from me. Okay. It's coming from me. So much is given, much is required. So Jesus, the scripture says Jesus came to his own, and his own received him not. I came to your house, you did not feed me. You did not offer me shelter. You did not extend to me your gratitude. Okay? So it's very, 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 very important to you to understand what Archbishop and Bishop Searchy said about financing this intellectual movement. It takes finances to uplift a nation. Okay? It takes finances to uplift a nation. But when this nation get moving, we won't need their finance. We can create our own. We can create our own. We have that authority to do so. All right? Before I go ahead, let me just show you something. Let me show you something. Many of you overlook. We just read that they separated church from state. Okay? We just read what Thomas Jefferson did and brought all you out into the wilderness, outside of the garden where there is no candlestick. So I represent that candlestick, the light shining in the darkness, but the darkness comprehended not. Okay? Let me show you. I read to you yesterday New Jersey Revised Statute 61-28. Right seated under charge of Great Britain saved from appeal. An act to incorporate trustees of religious society for property held in corporation in place thereof. So the property being held in corporation are those called the incorporated states. All right. But the property that they hold is not theirs. It's abandoned property that is ceded as a result of the presumption that ain't no Anglo-Saxon heirs around. Okay, and as a result of that, it's supposed to cheat to the crown by way of what we call the statute or mortmain. Okay, but in order for the crown to retrieve that property that was subject to statute of mortmain, which was passed by Edward I, son of Henry III, son of Henry II, son of Godfrey the Fifth Calaban Jew, the son of Folk, the ruler of Jerusalem, that the only way being simple can pass on the Queen of Victorious to an heir is by operation of law. Operation of law. Not by writing the deed down, two parties agreeing upon and having notarized, but operation of law. Legislation, okay, preserved for an estate that has yet to be retrieved from the state, because we know the state is nothing more than the what we call the shareholder or the stockholder of the estate or the land, which we call the public domain. And the only thing they can do is use it for the public good. They can't take it; they can just use it. But we know that we just said all usury has stopped by Edward I. Let's read this, y'all. Show you how much power we have. Powers of consolidation. Tell me how many religious society that has incorporated in any state of New Jersey under the laws of New Jersey has done it to this perfection, which would revert to the laws of England. Yeah, we incorporated in the laws of New Jersey, but based off the laws of our predecessor corporation, based off the charges granted by the original grantor of charges, which was the king. Okay? Which was the king. Look at what this statute said. This 2019, we can go to 2024 and get the new revised. 2023. Everyone listen. Powers of consolidation. We know what the word consolidate means, right? Consolidate means to break down, okay? To break down to the most simplest form that one can comprehend. All right, so let's read it in its entirety. The consolidated corporation shall have and may exercise all powers conferred by the respective certificate of corporation or charter of the constituent corporation by either Title 14, which is the majority of how corporations incorporate, or by Title 16, corporation and association of religious society. Okay? And in particular, the power conferred by Article 5 of Chapter 1 of Title 16 of the revised statute, so far as the same are not inconsistent with this act, are necessary or convenient to the further of its object. Before I go any further, we have incorporated under 16-1-28 rights under charters saved from Great Britain. An act to incorporate. trustees of this religious society for property held in other corporations and place thereof. Can everybody understand that language? Can you? All right, let's move forward. So far as the same are not inconsistent with this act, are necessary for the convenient to the further of its object, and are in accordance with the doctrine. Government, did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? What it said in the statute? So far as the same are not inconsistent with this act, or necessary or convenient to the further of its object, and are in accordance with the doctrine, government, discipline, usage of the church or religious denomination to the jurisdiction on which the constituent corporation were subject. It shall have, among other powers, the power to invest, change the investment of any reinvest in endowment in funds in such investment, whether or not prescribed by a statute in such manner as it shall deem proper. Hear that? So that's the power of the law, not the law of the state, the law of the church. Because it said government. That's protected by the First Amendment. But they took that away from you when Thomas Jefferson separated church from state. That means you don't have no government. You have a faith and a government that's abstract, but there's nothing concrete that you can actually tangibly touch or get what we call remedy, or get what we call a grievance from. All right, we must understand what we're doing here today. Okay, this is why we are not playing with our members. Okay, God don't play with his children. You don't play with your children when it comes to following the law and disobeying the law. So why should we? And why should I? Because I'm only as strong as my weakest link. And there will be no weak links here. I'm telling you. So if you're not cut out for this, you better keep it moving. Your prescription, your views don't matter to me. Because we're going to do our job. All right? This is going to be what we call, it ain't going to be televised. All right? This will not be televised. We're going to be moving in the state of chaos. Okay? We won't be touched. Okay? We're going to have the government backing us. It just said it right here. This is already being played out in a court of law. What we're talking about right now, and the state cannot touch it. They can't touch it. How many religious societies had put their, not just the leaders, but and the citizens have put themselves in a position like this? None. None. It has not been done. It cannot be done other than in the manner in which you're seeing it done. All right. So let's get back to class. So. Plantation and settlement. Plantation, settlement, or colony, because this goes back to prescription of sovereignty. I bet you all forgot that word. Prescription of sovereignty. Everybody read that. Read it. Drill it in your head. Prescription of sovereignty allows for easement by people who don't actually own what it is that they're using. Go ahead, Countess Bishop Cersei. Prescription. We know when you get a prescription, Prescription is supposed to be a remedy. When you sick, you go to the doctor and get a remedy, right? It's supposed to make things better. Okay? It's supposed to make things better from a national and an international level. It's supposed to make things better. Greetings, Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont. Glad you could join us. My noble servant. I got to get my coffee. I apologize, y'all. Hold on. I'm back. I told y'all I got to go down south in July for my mom. She's not doing too good, so I'm trying to go down and see her. So, I need to help the king out. If you're able to, I know that we all got our obligations, but like I said, we got to support the king. Uh, as always, I'm gonna come to the rescue of any of my subjects. Best believe that. Okay. All right. When you petition me, your remedy is by right, my utmost gets my utmost attention. Okay. Because I understand the situation, but we can't put the cart before the horse. All right. We cannot put the cart before the horse. All right. But once again, prescription of sovereignty is an international law of sovereign transfer of territory by open encroachment by the new sovereign upon the territory for a prolonged period of time. This would be what you call your noun present, what we call states. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Noble. Um, I just put that out there. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, I'm gonna get there regardless. Right? I'm gonna get there regardless. So it says that prescription of international law is sovereignty transfer of a territory by open encroachment by the new sovereign upon the territory for a prolonged period of time, acting as the sovereign without protest or other contest by the original sovereign. It is analogous to the common law doctrine of easement by the prescription for private real estate. Okay, so let's get to the how this prescription of sovereignty transfer came about in the first place, right? Don't anybody want to find out how this come about in the first place? I'm sure y'all want to, right? How did our Intel estate become fee simple? How? Let's see. Let's go back to the plantation. Plantation, settlement, or colony, whatever name You choose. We really don't care. They're all associated with colonialism. And if it's colonialism, then that's based upon either acquisition or prescription of sovereignty. We just define what it means. A non-possessory use or easement in property that you do not own, which is what they call usury. And we know that's a used word associated with what we call usury. All right. So we're dealing with plantations and colonies. And we know plantation and colonies were used to raise what? Revenue, right? Revenue. This is called the antediluvian period. Antediluvian period. The era of plantation. All right. A history of colonization. A plantation was a form of colonization in which settlers would establish permanent or semi-permanent colonial settlements in a new region. This term first appeared in 1580 in the English language to describe the process of colonization before being also used to refer to a colony by the 1610. By the 1700s, the word was also being used to describe large farms where cash crop goods were produced typically in tropical regions. Okay. Pay very close attention to this next paragraph, everyone. The next two paragraphs. Sources, right here. Right. I want your sources. The first plantations were established during Edwardian conquest of Wales and the plantation of Ireland by the English crown. Did you hear that? The Edward conquest of Wales and the plantations of Ireland by the English crown. This is very important for you to understand. Okay? Very important for you to understand this. We further. In Wales, King Edward I of England began a policy of constructing a chain of fortifications and castles in New Wales to control the native Welsh population. The Welsh were only permitted to enter the fortification and castles unarmed during the day and were forbidden from trading. In Ireland, during the Tudor and Stuart era, I repeat, in Ireland, during the Tudor and Stuart era, the English crown initiated a large-scale colonization of Ireland, in particular, the province of Ulster, with Protestant settlers from Great Britain. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? These plantations led to the demography of Ireland becoming permanently altered, creating a new Protestant ascendancy which would dominate Irish society for the next few centuries. There's your soil. In North America, during the period of European colonization and early modern periods, several plantations were established by English settlers, not English settlers, but Great Britain monarchs acting as English monarchs, allowing migrants and immigrants to colonize new territories as a result of what we call the Scottish diaspora or the Ashkenazi Scottish diaspora, or what we call the Ulster and Scottish diaspora. Okay? Ulsters and Scottish are Irish and Scottish descendants. Okay? In North America, during the period of European colonization, the early modern period, seven plantations established by, I'm not going to say English settlers, including Virginia, Rhode Island, and elsewhere throughout the 13 colonies. Other European colonial powers used the plantation method of colonization as well as, though not to the extent of English settlers. Okay? So we know that colonization took place in Wales but that's not what my concentration on. My concentration is on Ireland, okay? Ireland. So before we deal with that, let's go to the Ulster and Scottish people associated with Ireland, okay? Now, Ulster Scots, also called Ulster Scottish people, or in North America, Scottish Irish, or Scots Irish, are an ethnic group in Ireland who share a common history, culture, and ancestry. Some speakers of Ulster Scots dialect of the Scottish language, a Western Germanic language, as an ethnicity, they descend largely from Scottish and, for the lack of a better term, English settlers who moved to the North Island during the 17th century. These are your Scottish Jews or your Ashkenazi Jews. Okay. Found mostly in the province of Ulster and to a lesser extent in the rest of Ireland, their ancestors were Protestants, mainly Presbyterians, Anglicans, and Methodists, settlers who migrated from Scotland, Scottish lowland, and northern England. This was the Scottish Highland clearance during the plantation of Ulster. The largest number came from Dumfries, Galloway, Lanarkshire, Renfrewshire, Ayrshire, Scottish borders, Northumberland, Cumbria, Durham, Yorkshire, and to much lesser extent from the Scottish Highlands. Northern Ireland is one of the four countries of the United Kingdom. The majority of people living in Northern Ireland are British and or Irish citizens. Ulster Scots migrated to Ireland in large numbers, both as a result of the government sanctioned plantation of Ulster, a planned process of colonization, but took place under the auspices of King James of Scotland and the first assumed king of England on land confiscated from members of the Gaelic nobility of Ireland who fled Ulster as a part of a large migration or up-planned wave of settlement. Ulster Scots people immigrated from Ireland in significant numbers to the American colonies, later the United States and elsewhere in the British Empire. Scottish Irish or Scot Irish is a traditional term for Ulster Scots who immigrated to America under a planned process of colonization that started with Edward the First. Okay, start with Edward the First. All right, Edward the First started this going back. Let's just go back to it. Repeat it. And right here. The first plantation was established during the Edwardian conquest of Wales and the plantation of Ireland. Okay, the plantation of Ireland by the English crown. So King Edward the First, the son of Henry the Third, the son of Henry the Second, uh, uh, the son of Godfrey the Fifth, Count of Anjou, the son of Folk, the ruler of Jerusalem. He passed the Statutes of Mortimer. He passed the Queen of Praetors. He passed the statutes of entail. All right, all for the preservation of the estate that was what we call uh, uh, subject to what we call a commonwealth as a result of the fact whose monarch sitting on the throne acting as if they were Anglo-Saxon burghers, okay, who are the true English king, being English for the lack of a better term, okay? So King Edward First of England began the process of constructing a chain of fortifications and castles in North Wales to control native Welsh population. The Welsh were only permitted to enter in the fortifications and castles unarmed during the day and were forbidden from trading. In Ireland, as we're talking about now, during the Tudor and Stuart era, the English crown initiated a large-scale colonization of Ireland, in particular the province of Ulster, with Protestant settlers from Great Britain. So we're going to do with two things. the Anglo-Saxon conquest of Ireland, as well as the plantation of Ulster. So let's deal with the plantation of Ulster first. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. This was developed out of nowhere. Had a seizure. One day I up and had a seizure, and boom, who go figure. All right. The plantation of the Ulster was an organized colonization. Here it is, organized. It wasn't spontaneous. It was an organized colonization by people from Great Britain during the reign of King James VI and the first some under England. All right, which we know he was not. So this was an organized undertaking. Okay, this was an organized undertaking. We know the organized undertaking came by way of what we call the Treaty of Perpetual Peace. All right? The Treaty of Perpetual Peace. Let's look at it. This plantation also was a colonization, planned colonization by King James the Sixth of Scotland. Let's go back to the Treaty of Perpetual Peace. How am I able to remember all of it? How? The Treaty of Perpetual Peace was signed by King James IV of Scotland and Henry VII of England in 1502 and agreed to end the intermediate warfare between Scotland and Great Britain, not Scotland and England, because Scotland and England unified by the Treaty of Union in 1707, which resulted from the Union of the Crowns in 1603, which resulted from the Treaty of Perpetual Peace in 1502 as a result of the marriage to King James and Margaret of Tudor, which is where you get the story dealing with the thorn and the thistle. Okay? The thorn and the thistle. Well, here's your first look, Brother Rich. So now we looked up the plantation of Ulster, which was a planned and organized colonization, right? A planned, organized colonization. Let's go to Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, okay? Let's see that first. So, well, Ireland, we're dealing with Scottish and Irish descendants. We know about the Scottish independence of 1290. We know about the Edict of Expulsion in 1296. We know that they were allowed to come back in 1650 through the Battle of Dunbar under the Rump Parliament of the Oliver Cromwell. All right. So we know that the history between the Battle of Dunbar in 1296, and the Battle of Dunbar in 1560, which resulted as a result of conflict that originated with British monarchs that were fighting under the British government, all right, has nothing to do with the English government, all right, nothing at all, all right. They had to quarrel amongst themselves, all right. Let's see. The Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, very important. The Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland took place during the late 12th century when Anglo-Norman gradually conquered and acquired large swaths of land from the Irish, over which King of England then claimed sovereignty, as alleged sanctioned by the papal bull of Saint Adrian. All right, Pope Adrian the Fourth, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Gaelic Ireland was made up of several kingdoms, with high kings claiming lordship over most of the other kings. The Anglo-Norman invasion was a watershed in Ireland history, marking the beginning of more than 800 years of direct English and later British conquest and colonialism in Ireland. In May 1169, Anglo-Norman merchants landed in Ireland at the request of Dermot Mac Murchada, Dermot MacMcGrath for himself, the disposed king of Leinster, who sought their help in regaining his kingship. They achieved this within weeks and raided neighboring kingdoms. This military intervention was sanctioned by King Henry II of England. In return, Dermot had sworn loyalty to Henry and promised lands to the Normans. So it's right here. In October 1171, King Henry II, son of Godfrey V, Canamantu, son of Fulk, ruled Jerusalem, landed with a large army to assert control over both Anglo-Norman and the Irish. Okay? Anglo-Norman and the Irish. This intervention was supported by the Roman Catholic Church, who saw it as a means of ensuring Irish religious reform and a source of taxes. At the time, Irish marriages laws conflicted with those of the broader church, and the Gregorian reform had not been fully implemented. Henry granted Strongbow Leinster as a fiefdom, declared the North Irish town to be the Crown Land, and arranged by the Synod of Cashel to reform the Irish church. Many Irish kings also submitted to him, likely in hope that he would curb Norman expansion. But King Henry granted the unconquered kingdom of Meath to Hugh de Lacy after Henry's departure in 1172. Fighting between Normans and Irish continued again. So what is this Gregorian reform? We know the Gregorian reform is not the Gregorian mission. The Gregorian mission goes back to the 6th century, and when the Anglo-Saxons converted by Pope Gregory I to Christianity. The Gregorian reform was a reform of what took place by way of what we call the Gregorian mission in the 6th century. Okay? Very important. Why? Don't believe me, just read it for ourselves. Laudability. Yes. And the Pope Gregory calendar was created in 1582 by Pope Gregory XV, which we use now, which they use now. So if the calendar was created in 1582, how in the hell what calendar are they using? All right? It's either the English, the Roman, or the Berber. Laudability was a bold issue in 1155 by Pope Adrian IV, the only Englishman to have served in that office. The existence of the bull has been disputed by scholars over the centuries. No copy is extant, but scholars cite many references to it as early as the 13th century to support the validity of its existence. Here's your reference. The bull purports to grant the right to the Angevin king, Henry II, son of Godfrey V, Canamantu, son of Fulk, ruler of Jerusalem, all right, to invade and govern Ireland and to enforce the Gregorian reform on the semi-autonomous Christian Church of Ireland. Richard D. Clarence Strongbow and other leaders of the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland claimed that Lord and authorized the invasion. These Cambro-Norman knights were retained by Diarmuid MacMorrough, the disposed king of Leinster, as an ally in his fight with High King of Ireland, Rodri Ure Kudjabor. If I pronounce that wrong, please forgive me. Just get a little history on it. Greetings, Brother Thomas from the House of Thomas. Thank you, Brother Rich from the House of Spencer. The role of the church, all right, in regards to the act or the bull passed by Pope Adrian IV, in regards to carrying out the Gregorian reform, which wind up being initiated by who? Henry II, son of Godfrey, the fifth Conveyed Jew, the ruler of Jerusalem. So it says the role of the church in regards to this edict by the bull. All right. Some of the initiative for political and military intervention came from the Anglo-Norman church leaders, especially Theobald, Archbishop of Canterbury, who wanted to control the Irish church and fully implement the Gregorian reform. Irish church leaders and legislative for reform, notably at the Synod of Cashel in 1101, Bradford in 1111, and Kells 1152. The reforms intended to tighten attitudes towards marriage, clerical celibacy, the sacramental system, and control of church land and offices, would demand that the abandonment of the features of the Gaelic society going back to pre-Christian times and the practices which had been accepted for centuries by the church in Ireland. Implementing the reform was slow and difficult. At the Synod of Kells, the Church of Canterbury had its claim to the primacy over the Irish Church dismissed by Pope Eugene III, who felt that the Irish Church can handle its own affairs. This did not go down well with the Anglo-Norman clergy. In 1155, John of Salisbury, Secretary of the Archbishop of Canterbury, and good friends with the recent elected Anglo-Norman Pope Adrian IV, made an extraordinary intervention at the Roman Curia. He called for the Norman involvement in Ireland to reform its barbaric and impious people. Did y'all hear what it just said? Barbaric and impious people. There's your source. Okay? So he said he called for the Normans involved in Ireland to reform its barbaric and impious people. This resulted in the papal bull, Longibilitaire, or an equivalent, which purported to grant Henry II papal authority to intervene in Ireland, such as by conquest. Salisbury had been inspired in his views on the Irish by Life of Malachy, written by Malachy's friend Bernard of Clairvaux. This hagiography, written within a year of Malachy's death in 1149, depicts the Irish, in fact, highly Christianized and exaggerated term as barbaric, semi-pagan, and in need of reform. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's go here. We know that at the time of this, that the Plantagenet crown became lords of what we call Ireland. They became the lords of what we call Ireland. Let's see. Lords of Ireland, sometimes referred to the retrospectively as Anglo-Norman Ireland, was part of Ireland ruled by a king of England styled as the Lords of Ireland and controlled by Lower Anglo-Norman lords between 1177 and 1542. The lordship was created following the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland in 1169 to 1171. It was 1171. It was a papal fief granted to the Plantagenet kings of England by the Holy See via laudabiliter, as the Lords of Ireland was also the kings of England. He was represented locally by a governor, variously known as the Justiciar Lieutenant, Lord Lieutenant of Lord Deputy. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? Government. First, John, King of England, and ended with Henry VIII. Okay? Y'all see it there. Let's move forward. So if it ended with Henry VIII, let's go to the Tudor conquest of Ireland. Okay? But we just deal with the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, and we know that under Henry II, they became lords of Ireland. I mean, under Henry II's son John, they became lords of Ireland, and we know the end of that rulership ended with Henry VII, and that resulted from the Tudor conquest of Ireland, which we'll go to now. Undisputable receipts. Undisputable receipts, y'all. Y'all better stop playing with your king. Tudor conquest or reconquest of Ireland took place during the 16th century under the Tudor dynasty. So we see that Ireland was already under authority of the lordship of the Plantagenet king. All of a sudden now, the Tudors conquest now. What's going on here, y'all? Y'all see it right before your eye. All right. I have taken your conscious mind back to a time and era that your physical body can't go. All right. So if that's the case, it's like looking to a globe and you see all the events going back from the time eras that we're talking about, and you outside the picture. Okay. So that will make you what? God. All right. Looking into a story and seeing what's going on, how the story started, where the story got messed up, and how to fix the story. So now you can come back into the picture. Okay. Because the picture speaks 1,000 words. Right. Tudor conquest happened in the 16th century under the Tudor dynasty, which started with Henry VII, finished by and it was finished by Elizabeth I, to what we call the planned colonization through what we call the Scottish, Irish, known as the Ulster Scottish migration here to what we call North America. To the conquest of Ireland from 1536 to 1603. 1603 is where you had the Union of the Crowns. All right. We already read that that was established as a result of the Treaty of Perpetual Peace in 1502. All right. Between King James IV and King James VII. All right. As a result of their pact that they made, going all the way back to the Order line. All right. It said that the Anglo-Normans had conquered swaths in Ireland in the late 12th century, bringing it under English control. In the 14th century, the effective area of English rule shrank markedly, and from then, most of the island was held by a native Gaelic chieftain. Okay, chieftain. Following the fair rebellion by the Earls of Kildare in the 1530s, the English crown set about restoring its authority. Henry VIII of England was made King of Ireland by the Crown Island Act of 1542. The conquest involving assimilating the Gaelic nobility by way of surrender and regret. The confiscated colonization plantation of land with settlers from Britain imposing English law and language banned Catholicism, dissolving the monastery, and making Anglican Protestant the state religion. Okay? The Tudor policy of Ireland sparked the Desmond Rebellion and the 9-Year War. Despite Spanish support for Irish Catholics during the Anglo-Spanish War, by 1603, the entire country was under English rule. The flight of the Earls in 1607 largely completed the destruction of the Gaelic aristocracy and left the way open for the plantation of Ulsters, which established a large British Protestant population in the north. Several people had helped establish the plantation of Ireland, also played a part later in the early colonization of North America, particularly a group known as the West Country Men. Okay? The West Country Men. So you see the Tudor conquest of England. You know that the Tudors gave King James their start. Okay? You know that the Tudors gave King James their start. And when King James got their start, then brought forth to the English Civil War and the War of the Three Kingdoms, then came in the Oliver Cromwell, to the Cromwellian, what's it called? The Cromwellian conquest of Ireland. You had the Anglo-Saxon conquest of England. Now you got the Tudor conquest of England, which gave birth to the Scottish monarch. All right. And then you ended with the Cromwellian conquest of what we call England, which we'll go to now. The Cromwellian conquest of Ireland, or Cromwellian War in Ireland, was the reconquest of Ireland by the forces of English Parliament led by Oliver Cromwell during the War of the Three Kingdoms. Cromwell invaded Ireland with the New Model Army on behalf of an English rump Parliament in August 1649. That's called the English Commonwealth. It lasted from 1649 to 1660 with the restoration of the crown with Charles II, which gave the charter to who? William Penn. Okay? William Penn. Remember what I'm talking about. Remember what I'm talking about. And remember what's being said, because I'm going to keep referring to it and going back to it to qualify. You had a Anglo-Saxon conquest or invasion of Ireland as a result of Pope Adrian IV issuing that on behalf of the barbaric Irelands. They said they were barbaric. okay? Impedious and barbaric, all right? Then brought forth the Tudor conquest of Ireland, because we know between the Anglo and the Tudor conquest of Ireland involved the Plantagenet crown, okay? And from the Tudor conquest of Ireland involves the kings of Great Britain, which are the Scottish monarchs, which is where the plan for the colonization of those Scottish monarchs to and now immigrate and migrate through the Scottish diaspora here to what we call North America, to what we call the plantation of Ulster under King James VI of Scotland, and the soon to be the first king of England, which we know is a lie. Okay, let's get to it, y'all. How many of you heard of the Great Wagon Road? The Great Wagon Road. Let's get there. The Great Wagon Road was to improve the Great Wagon Road. The Great Wagon Road was an improved trail through the Great Appalachian Valley from Pennsylvania to North Carolina and from there to Georgia and colonial America. Did y'all hear that? It goes into Thomas Jefferson Fry map. The heavily traveled Great Wagon Road was the primary route for the early settlement of the southern United States, particularly the backcountry. Although the wide variety of settlers traveled southward on the road to dominant cultural uh, parts of southward on the roads, two dominant cultures emerged. The German Palatine and the Scottish Irish immigrants arrived in huge numbers because of bloody religious conflict and persecution of Protestants by monarchies in Great Britain and Europe. Did you hear that, y'all? You see the paper trail? You see the rabbit hole? How far it get or how far the paper trail go? The mostly Protestant German Palatines are known as Pennsylvania and the Dutch. Tended to find rich farmland and work as zealously to become stable and prosperous. All right. So that's prescription of sovereignty. They don't own a damn thing. All right. The origin group, the other group, mostly Protestant and Presbyterian, known as Scottish Irish, i.e., what we call Ulster, Ulster Scottish, from the plantation of Ulster. Okay. It says that the other groups, mostly Protestant and Presbyterian, known as Scottish Irish, tended to be restless, clannish, fiercely independent, and hosted a century of old animosity to the British crown. The Scottish Irish made up substantial portion of the Continental Army and the state militia in the American War of Independence. They went on to form what became the backbone of the Appalachian country. Partly because of the language difference, the two groups tended to keep to themselves. All right. Beginning at the port of Philadelphia, where many immigrants entered the colony, the Great Wagon Road passed through the town of Lancaster and York and southeastern Pennsylvania. You hear that? Lancaster and York. What that sound like? The York of Lancaster, the House of Lancaster, and the House of York. Cadet branches of the Plantagenet crown. Okay? Because we know that the Plantagenet crown ruled Scotland as the lords of Scotland when Scotland and Ireland, is in Scotland and Ireland united by way of what we call what they said the colonization plan that was established by what we call King James VI of Scotland and is soon to be the first king of England. Okay, it's very important for you to understand that. Let's get a map view. Okay, let's actually get a map view and see if we can get that. right? All right. So it said it started from Pennsylvania down to the Appalachian Mountain to Georgia to South Carolina. Here's South Carolina. Georgia's somewhere around here. All right. Pennsylvania's up here. Okay. So they travel through what they call a colonization process from Great Britain. Okay. From Great Britain. All right. So let's go over there. Okay. This is the map showing United Kingdom, formerly called Great Britain, formerly called England, and prior to that, it was called Albion. Okay, Albion. United Kingdom, right? This is United Kingdom. This is considered based off the T and O map. All right. We know that North America would be considered the Anglo-sphere. Let me go back here. This is the Appalachian. This is Anglo-sphere. This is what you call the Anglo-sphere you're looking at here. All right. The Anglo-sphere. It had nothing to do with the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay? Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right? We know that the Ashkenazi Jews or the Jews who migrated to Scotland, I mean to England, then known as Great Britain, on to Scotland and Ireland. We know that these are the ones who took place in what we call the Jewish diaspora, which is in what we call the other continent, which is called the continent of Europe, Africa, and Asia. So let's go to that continent because we know this doesn't represent those continents. This represents what we call the Anglosphere and the English overseas possession. The Anglosphere and the English overseas possession, meaning all this territory belongs to the English, which we call the Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Okay? Berbers. We know that this territory before was King Great Britain was under the jurisdiction of New France and New Spain. We know New Spain and New France and New Spain was at war with the Kingdom of England under the rulership of the Plantagenet crown. Okay? Under the rulership of the Plantagenet crown, which are in question now because we know through the statute passed or the bull passed by St. Adrian IV in regards to the Scottish Irish descendants, they called them barbaric, okay? Which they needed a Gregorian reform because the Reformation under the Gregorian mission that took place in the 6th century was done by those barbarics, which needed reform as established by the bull passed by Pope Adrian IV. Okay, we see that. So this is the Anglosphere you're looking at. So let's go to Europe. Right? Now here you see parts of Europe and parts of Cam, okay, or Han. This is the Mediterranean Sea. This is the Tigris Euphrates, not parts of. This is the River Nile, okay? All right. If you look at the TNO map, it starts here. Line go all the way up. Everything east of this, what we consider Asia. Everything south of this, what we call Ham, or what we call Libya, which we know are called Berbers, and everything up above, north above the Mediterranean will be called what we call Europe. And we know Europe, the story told by Europe are done by Ashkenazi Jews. All right. The story told, according to the Berbers, are told by Ashkenazi Jews based on the 1911 encyclopedia. And we know that the Berbers were warned with the Arabs because the Arabs were warned with the Kingdom of Jerusalem back in the Crusade, right? Which were actually Berbers, all right? We know that the Plantagenet crown were actually Berbers because we know prior to William the Conqueror, the only Berber kings that were ruling at that time were actually Anglo-Saxon Berbers. Absolutely right, Brother Rich. Okay? So the Tino map, which is not nothing to do with the Anglo-Spare. We were already here. All right? We were already here living in the Anglo-Spare because the proof is in the New France and New Spain before Great Britain even started telling their story. New France and New Spain had a story being told over here in the integral part of what we call North America, which is the medium, the middle. Okay, all right. This was the territory under the jurisdiction of the Kingdom of France, which were at war with the Plantagenet crown. All right, before Great Britain became to exist. All right, you must understand that, and we know that prior to William Conquer invading England, they were Anglo-Saxon Berbers, and we know that Berbers are now from Libya. Libya way the hell down here. So how would the Egyptian who calls us Libyans, because Egypt is right close to Libya. So that would make sense for them to identify us with Libyans, but we don't identify with Libyans because that's what the Egyptian called us. We call ourselves Berbers because that's what the Scottish people told us based off their history in regards to Europe, the continent of Europe. Okay, we must understand that. So we see the continent of Africa, all right, versus the Anglo-Spare. We see United Kingdom, which is symbolic of Europe. Let's go to Asia. Right here. This is all of Asia. Anything east of the River Nile and north of the Mediterranean, which can be considered Asia. All this. And all this extends to what we call the Bering Strait, which is west and what we call the Anglo-Spare. Let's see. All right. This is the west coast of North America. You see the Bering Strait up here. All right. Which will connect to Asia. Which you see right here. You see that, right? Right? I'll give me a second. Okay. Close this out. Back to the Great Wagon Road. The heavily traveled Great Wagon Road was the primary route for the early settlements of the southern United States, particularly the backcountry. Although a wide variety of settlers traveled southern on the road, two dominant cultures emerged: the Germanic Palatine and the Scottish Irish, who immigrated, arrived in huge numbers because of the bloody religious conflict and persecution of the Protestants by monarchs in Great Britain and Europe. So there you see it. You see the connection from Great Britain to the immigration and the migration as a result of what we call the Scottish diaspora, which was based upon the plantation of Ulster, which was the planned colonization in North America by King James, carried orchestrated by the House of Tudors. All right, the House of Tudors, because we know the House of Tudors conquered Ireland prior to the Anglo-Saxon conquest in Ireland. But the Anglo-Saxon conquest of Ireland was actually initiated by the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Adrian IV, under what we call the Bull of, what was it called? Laudabiliter. Okay, if I'm pronouncing that right. Let's move forward with this great lesson. So we know that the plantation crowns were lords of Ireland, right? From John to Henry VII. From John to Henry II, Henry VII. They were lords of Ireland, right? Lords of Ireland. Very important you understand that, because when you're dealing with the Great Migration and the Great Wagon Road, all that goes into the history of the Presbyterians. It goes back to what we call Pennsylvania, all right? Because it said when we hit the Great Wagon Road, it went to York and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Didn't it say that, y'all? Let's make sure. Great Wagon Road, beginning at the port of Philadelphia, where many immigrated, entered the colonies. The Great Wagon Road passed through the town of Lancaster, York, and southeastern Pennsylvania. It's very important for y'all to understand that, okay? Why is this important? Let's see. Province of Pennsylvania. The province of Pennsylvania, also known as the Pennsylvania Colony, was a British North American colony founded by William Penn, who received lands through a grant by Charles II of England in 1681. The name Pennsylvania was derived from Penn's Wood, referring to William Penn's father, Admiral Sir William Penn. Okay? Y'all better pay attention. The province of Pennsylvania was one of the two major restoration colonies. Restoration colonies. We know at the Battle of Dunbar, through Parliament, Charles II was restored to become the de facto king of England once again. All right. through the surrender of Amsterdam. All right. This is when the charters or the deeds were given to the proprietors George Carteret and John Berkeley, which was surrendered back to the Crown of England in 1702 when the Virginia Charter was revoked. Okay? We must understand this. It's a big puzzle. Why do you think I chose Wikipedia? Baby fool. The province of Pennsylvania was one of the two major restoration colonies. The proprietary colonies charter remained in Penn's family until they were later out following the American Revolution, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was established as one of the original 13 states. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? I don't think y'all heard what that just said. The province of Pennsylvania was one of the two major restoration colonies. The proprietary colony chartered remained in the Penn's family. All right. So he said that based off the Penn's family, that land that was that he immigrated to was his land, based off his family, because it remained in the charter of incorporation, and the charter of incorporation was based off a ceremony tradition that goes back to my ancestors, Asherton. Okay, Asherton. All right. The province of Pennsylvania was one of the two major restoration colonies. The propriety of colony of charter remained in Penn's family until they were later out following the American Revolution, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was established as one of the original 13 states. We know that the word Penn is a surname originating from Germany. Okay. The lower countries on Delaware, a separate colony within the Pennsylvania province, broke away during the American Revolution and was established as the Delaware state. It also became one of the original 13 states. So we see Delaware was originally part of what we call Pennsylvania, where we have Lancaster and York. Okay? Check this out, y'all. Your king is bad. If they take this to trial, all this is coming out. If they go to trial, all this is coming out. Province of Pennsylvania. The province of Pennsylvania colonial government was established in 1683 by William Penn's frame of government. Penn was appointed governor and a 72-member provincial council and larger General Assembly were responsible for governing the province. The General Assembly, also known as the Pennsylvania Provincial Assembly, was the largest and most representative branch of government, but had limited power. Succeeding frames of government, succeeding frames of government were produced in 1683 and 1696 and 1701. The fourth frame, also known as the Charter of Privileges, remained in effect until the American Revolution. At the time, provincial assembly was deemed too moderate by American revolutionaries, who rejected the General Assembly authority and held that the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia, which produced the Pennsylvania Constitution in 1776 for the newly established Commonwealth, and created the new Pennsylvania General Assembly. Hear that? So now they're fighting over it now. You know they ain't going to trial. They know they ain't going to trial. As soon as they drop these charges, I'm issuing an injunctive relief. Okay? Injunctive relief, equitable injunctive relief. Okay? You know what that means. But that's internal business. Penn was an English real estate entrepreneur. Did you hear that? So he was a broker. He was an escrow agent. He was a stakeholder. Penn was a real estate entrepreneur. He was no English entrepreneur. He was a real estate entrepreneur, philosopher, Quaker, and founder of the province of Pennsylvania, and an advocate of democracy and religious freedom, known for fostering peaceful and positive relations with the Lenape Indian tribe through a number of treaties. Under William Penn's direction, Philadelphia was planned and developed and served as the largest city and national capital in 1800, when it was surpassed in population by New York City, and a new national capital was constructed in Washington, D.C. Despite having land grants from King Charles II, Penn embarked on an effort to purchase the land from Native Americans. The Napi Indian tribes held much of the land near present-day Philadelphia, and they expected payment in exchange for quick claim to vacate the territory. Penn and his representative Proprietors negotiated a series of treaties with the Delaware and other tribes that had interest in the land in his royal grant. A treaty involves parties, individuals, not the land itself. All right? We must understand that. The initial treaties were conducted between 1682 and 1684 for a tract between New Jersey and the former Delaware colony in present-day Delaware. The province was thus divided first into two counties, plus in the three lower counties of Delaware Bay. The easternmost, Buck County, Philadelphia County, and Chester County, the westernmost. All right. So we know the province of Pennsylvania was established by who? William Penn. You got a charter from who? Charles II. Let's look at the province of New Jersey. We know Delaware broke away from Pennsylvania, and New Jersey and Delaware are separated by what we call a demarcation line. Okay? This is knowledge at its best. You should. The province of New Jersey contrasts to the province of Pennsylvania. Yes, about the people, not the land. The land is subject to the original owner, and Charles II was not the owner. Why? Because he was a grantee. He wasn't a grantor, he was a grantee. Charles II wasn't a grantor, he was the grantee. Because if he was a grantor, then that means that they would not be operating in what they call a rump parliament. All right? A rump parliament because of an interregnum. Because if the transfer or conveyance to the office of the king was based upon transfer from office of another person to the other, it would have been done based off the corporation sold, which is one person. All right? Because we know that Crown land is intel and operates under what we call what? The statutes or mortmain, a dead pledge. The province of New Jersey was one of the middle colonies of colonial America and became the United States of New Jersey, became a United States state in New Jersey in 1776. The province had originally been settled by Europeans as part of New Netherland, but became under English rule after surrender of Fort Amsterdam in 1664, becoming a proprietary colony. The English renamed the provinces after the islands of Jersey and in the English Channel. Dutch Republic reasserted control for a brief period in 1673 to 1674. After that, it consisted of two political divisions, East Jersey and West Jersey, until they were reunited as a royal colony in 1702. Royal colony. A royal colony is a colony under the crown. All right? A royal colony is a colony under the crown. The original boundaries of the province were slightly larger than the current state, extending into parts of the present state of New York until the border was finalized in 1773. The province of New Jersey was originally settled in 1610 as part of the colony of New Netherland. The surrender of Fort Amsterdam in September 1664 gave control over an entire mid-Atlantic region to the English as part of the Second Anglo-Dutch War. Yes, dead pledge. All right. As part of the Second Anglo-Dutch War. Remember, reparent and notarial rights. Reparent rights deals with territory that are separated by a body of water, dealing with the high water mark and low water mark, versus that which is notarial, which is based upon the seas, all right, or the oceans. You must understand that. The province of Jersey was originally set up in 1610 as part of the colony of Newfoundland. We know that the colony or settlement originally go back to Edward I under a planned colonization, all right, which took place in Wales, Ireland, and now in North America, all right? And we know prior to the colonization, somebody was already here, okay? And it wasn't Native Americans because their charters were subject to the revocation of the prerogative of the crown. all right? Because the crown does give out abstract titles, and abstract titles are titles that are not indefeasible. Indefeasible means you can trace that title back to the original grantor, and Charles and William Penn cannot do that, all right? We're going to prove he can't do that because he just said his charter was revoked by way of the Revolutionary War. Let's prove it. The English justified the seizures by claiming that John Cabot, an Italian under the sponsorship of English King Henry VII, had been the first discover the place, but it was probable to assert control over the profitable North Atlantic trade. Did y'all hear that? Brother Rich, who you talking to? At the crib, I'm gonna swing down about three. I don't understand that comment. As we can see, the province of New Jersey, that includes uh, the territories that were claimed by William the Conqueror, are notwithstanding. Okay, let's prove it. Don't worry about it. You into it. You texting your brother and you texting the chat. All right, brother, let's get there. All right. So we see. We know a difference between the provincial council, the province of New Jersey, and the province of Pennsylvania, right? We all see the difference between the province of New Jersey and the province of Pennsylvania. And we see that the province of New Jersey was claimed by the crown, okay? Claimed by the crown prior to what Henry VIII or anybody else did prior to that. Let's see. I asked the public defender, do you know real estate law? He said no. I said, well, you in a world of trouble, boy. He's in a world of trouble. How you an attorney gonna represent me in lieu of under the statute of frauds of creating a false contract in regards to a conveyance of property, conveyance of property, and you don't know real estate law. The attorney general don't know real estate law. The prosecution don't know real estate law. The judge don't know real estate law. The only one that's competent to understand the language of real estate law pursuant to conveyance is Chancery Court. Okay, and they definitely don't want to go there. All right. New Jersey Provincial Council was the upper house, it didn't say lower house, it said the upper house of New Jersey legislature under colonial rule. So that means that it had the ultimate complete authority governing the lower house, which were the ones who created your what they call uh what they call it, Articles of Federation was a weak central government. Okay. It says New Jersey Provincial Council was the upper house of New Jersey legislature under the colonial rule until it was replaced by New Jersey Legislative Council under the New Jersey Constitution in 1776. Listen. Remember that? The upper room when Sheila's gone. That's what Martin Lawrence was saying. We know the upper room is Clifford's Inn. All right. The upper room is Clifford Inn, where lawyers sit and 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 and, uh and break bread together. That's what we're doing now. We're breaking bread. You know what I'm saying? We're sharing thoughts. I'm feeding you, you feeding me. You feed me by comprehending what I'm feeding you. I know if you like what I'm feeding you, then whatever I'm feeding is good. All right, for sustaining yourself. The Provincial Council was established in 1702 upon the surrender by the proprietors of East Jersey and those of West Jersey of the right of government to Queen Anne. Anne's government united the two colonies as the province of New Jersey, a royal colony, established a new system of government. What government was it? The crown. What was the length of it? Indefinite. Where was it seated at? Perth Amboy and Burlington. I'm in Perth Amboy right now. Okay? I'm in Perth Amboy right now. All right? The instructions from Queen Anne to Viscount Cornbury, who was the governor All right. Who was let's look at him. Viscount Cornbury. Yeah, first governor. I get in trouble because I was supposed to be cleaning up my closet. I'm here doing a lecture. Instructions from Queen Anne. Oh, it's 2:45. I gotta hurry up. Instructions from Queen Anne to Viscount Cornbury, the first world governor of New Jersey, outlined a fusion of power system which allowed for an overlap of executive, legislative, and judicial authority, and provided for a bicameral legislature consisting of a council and general assembly. On December 6, 1775, William Franklin, the son of Benjamin Franklin, paroled the New Jersey legislature until January 3rd, 1776, but it never met again. On May 30th, 1776, Franklin attempted to convene the legislature, but was met instead with the New Jersey Provincial Congress under the New Jersey Provincial government on July 2nd, 1776, for the arrest of William Franklin. Okay, the last world governor of New Jersey. Okay, we must understand that. For another time, y'all. Livery of seisin. Livery of seisin in a archaic led livery of seisin in a is an archaic legal conveyance ceremony from practice formerly practiced in feudal England and other countries following the English common law used to convey holdings of property. The term livery is close relative to and synonymous with the word delivery, used in some jurisdictions and in contract law or related to law of deeds. You hear that? The oldest form of common law provided that a valid conveyance of feudal tenure and land required physical transfer by the transferor to the transferee in the presence of a witness, which usually be a lawyer, a clerk, or a broker, a licensed attorney, or what we call a notary public. All right. The oldest form of common law provided that a valid conveyance of feudal tenure and land required physical transfer by the transferor to the transferee and the process of a witness of a piece of a ground itself, and literal sense of a hand-to-hand passing of a amount of soil, a twig, a key to a building or that land or another token that you can come up with. All right. Varieties. Library of seisin. Library of seisin consists of two ways. Library in deed, which is whereby the parties meet together on the land and transfer symbolically deliberate possession of the land by handing over a twig or a clump of earth to the recipient. All right. Library in law, whereby the parties went within the site of the land and the transfer declared to the recipient that possession was being given, followed by the recipient entering onto the land. This is how it was given to us by livery of law, contrast to livery of deed. All right. Livery of law, meaning our ancestors had promised by way of telling us, even in our ignorance, that this land one day will be yours, based off the process of delivery or conveyance by way of delivery, by way of operation of law, and not by way of going down and following some stuff and some clerk that they created for recording instruments that record anything other than deed that denote to the original owner. Okay, you can pull up recorder of deeds, and the first recorder of deeds was Frederick Douglass, and the purpose for the recorder of deeds, and which William Frederick Douglass was in place of, was to record deeds of property owners other than the original owner. That was the purpose of intent. Why? Because of this lobby of law. Because based off the law, that conveyance was done based off going in sight of the land that was in question, and then you going onto that land based off the agreement made by the grantor. That was the king. Okay, let's see. Let's see the de facto way by library of D. All right. The turf and twig ceremony dates from the feudal era, but was used regularly in early colonial America, allowing English and Scottish after 1707 termed the British, which is the Treaty of Paris, which is the Treaty of Union of 1707. All right. Act of Union and the Treaty of Union of 1706. So this ceremony of turf and twig was used by these individuals who were de facto monarch or British monarch by virtue of their monarch's claim to take sovereign possession over unclaimed land. This is called prescription of sovereignty. We already talked about it. We already discussed it. We defined it. We validated. Now we are showing that William Penn used this ceremonial archaic form of conveying land by way of some deed that he made up himself, and in fact then used it based off a ceremony which does not pertain to him. Let's prove it. Delaware historical marker commemorating William Penn's taking possession of his American property with the turf and twig ceremony. It's right there. This is the evidence, y'all. We know New Jersey was the crown, which I represent. We know that Delaware is a part of Pennsylvania, which is the demarcation line between both territories, which are part of the royal colonies established by England. So. All right, I got to move fast, y'all. There's the evidence. You got the marker. Bernard Hodges in A History of Malmesbury describes the process in at least Wiltshire, discontinued in the late 17th century as follows. The lucky new commoner, all right? It said commoner. It didn't say heir. It didn't say landlord. It didn't say tenant-in-chief. It said a commoner, all right? Goes to his given acre and cut a turf from the selected site and drop 2 shillings in the whole May. Okay? That means you go cut out one of these boxes, all right? And the part you cut out, you pick up that plot of dirt or soil and put it in the conveying the hand of the person who the land's being conveyed to, so that the grantee from the grantor, which is the person who's conveying the land, which is not the original owner, is a stakeholder or a third party, masking as the owner as if they're the grantor. All right? But we know this is going to be a lie, and they're going to be caught on this lie. Why? For this reason. The lucky new commoner, yes, you are lucky commoners who have a deed in your hand. And the way it was conveyed was unlawful, because that's why he took it back from William Penn at the end of the Revolutionary War. Okay? Because the territory remained under the crown. We're going to prove it. The lucky new commoner goes to the given acre and cuts a turf. It didn't say a load of land, it said an acre. And cuts out a turf from the selected site and dropped 2 shillings in the whole May. The high steward of the county then twitches him with a twig and stick the twig in the turf, and then hands it to him, saying, "This turf and twig I give to thee, as free as Atherton gave to me, and I hope a loving brother thou wilt be." The high steward then takes the money out of the hole, and then the new landowner replaces the turf. So first of all, if you're going to be a grantee to the conveyance of property based off livery of seisin, which is the way we did it in our ancestors, because they did mention Atherton, that you damn sure be a relative of the kings of Wessex. Because if you're not, you are in a world of trouble. Because we see Atherton is who? That dark skin, y'all. That dark skin, he's the grandson of Alfred the Great. And these are all Anglo-Saxon Berbers, based off what they said in the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica, written by British, Scottish, Irish, Ashkenazi Jews who migrated to our homeland by way of the conversion of Christianity that goes back to the 6th century AD. Okay? We must understand that. So somebody's lying here, okay? Somebody's lying. Let's see how they lie. New Jersey revised statute 46:3-1. Feudal tenures are abolished. So that means that all these boxes right here that are estates and land, feudal tenures, or under the concept of livery seisin, those holes you dug out of the ground, all right, that stopped. That has stopped. All land has reverted back to the crown under what we call the statutes of mortmain. How we know it is right here in the under the legislative law of parliament, as we know, because we know land is transferred by operation of law when it deals with heirs. So you see, and then read here, it says the feudal tenures are abolished, and states and land are abolished. Those instruments that you have in lieu of conveyance of land from somebody who sold it to you are abolished. The feudal tenure estates and the instruments thereof are taken away, discharged, and abolished from after March 12, 1664. That's when Charles II gave the charter to Duke of York. So whatever he gave the Duke of York on March 12, 1664 is dissolved. Gone. Blew up in thin air, gone. Don't exist anymore. I didn't say that. The legislative statute said it. Okay? Don't argue with me. Argue with the statute. Why? Let's see. In closing, New Jersey versus Delaware, 291 U.S. 361, 1934 case. Sure, you're right, King. I like that. Sure, you're right. I'm glad my brothers and sisters enjoy this lesson. You're really going to love this because here's the nail in the coffin. All right? In regards to this library of seisin ceremony, let's go back there for a second. Inquisition post-mortem and library of seisin. Under the feudal system, all land belonged to the monarch and was therefore either held by him directly, the royal demesne, or on his behalf directly or indirectly. Those who held land directly on the king's behalf were known as tenant-in-chief. When a tenant-in-chief died without an heir in his land, it exceeded to fell into the hands of the king. If there was an heir, the king kept the land until library of seisin took place. The heir paid a sum of money, a relief to take lawfully to assume possession of the land. You hear that? So what William Penn did was abolish the law because the one who conveyed it was no king. Was no king. Y'all better listen. If the heir was underage, the king kept the land until he or she came of the age at 21 for men or 14 for women. If the king received rights of wardship in marriages, collecting the revenues of the state and disposing of the heir in marriage, he was able to sell these rights to a third party, who were not necessarily the ward next kin. These feudal tenures and rights were abolished in the interregnum. Did you hear that? These feudal tenures and rights were abolished in the interregnum, reintroduced and then abolished in the following period of government under the reign of Charles II from 1616 to 1685. So this is the reason why William Penn's conveyance by Charles II was recalled. All right, because Charles II conveyed land and it wasn't based off the proper form of how it's supposed to be conveyed under the livery of seisin, because he was no de jure king, because they were operating under an interregnum, not for the demise of the crown, which is the transfer to the next king. Greetings, 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 Brother Jabbar from the House of Jabbar. I sure hate to be coming in late, brother, but hey, that's why it's being recorded. But you missed a good one, Noble. Good to have you here. Just letting everybody know, there is today is the Sabbath day, and it'd be recommended to you for you to participate in the Sabbath meeting and the Sabbath gathering, which will be taking place around 7:30 this evening. All right, you all had your notices. You will definitely be getting email in regards to that. We hope and are sure that all will show up. You know, it was like a powwow for us. Uh, is under the control of Archbishop and Bishop Searcy. I might make myself known there, but I'm not guaranteed. I have some other engagements to go to. If time permits me, I will definitely show my face and say hello to all of you. But it's definitely a must that you participate in these events because it shows your fealty to the church. All right. So, if Brother Stony Live, since you're off work, I can guarantee you will be at the meeting at 7:30, right? Okay. Let's go back to the case. New Jersey versus Delaware. I'm talking about. New Jersey versus Delaware, 291 U.S. 361 1934. When you all become members of the Third English Church and start school, it's going to be over. It is going to be over. I don't care what's out there. What's out there? Y'all going to be shining example of me. Shining example of me. We are angels. We are the messenger. All right. If you could drop it like me, then you just like me. Then he said he created men in their own, we created God in our own image. Male and female, he created things. So that's what's being done. Okay? Y'all in the image of he who created things. New Jersey versus Delaware, 291, U.S. 361, 1934 case. Brother Spencer, you said you didn't understand it. I didn't get your question. Your statement. Okay. On August 24th, 1682, the Duke of York delivered to William Penn a deed of feoffment for the 12-mile circle whereby he conveyed to the feoffee. I just showed you the statute disqualifying what was done by Duke of York, from Duke of York to William Penn, because Duke of York got his charter from who? Charles II. Okay, all right. Well, you're gonna understand it now. You've been doing your research, brother Spencer. I'm glad the clarity is coming to fruition now. All right. So we see here, we see in, let's just go back to the statute, disqualify what this case said, because this is from the New Jersey Supreme Court of New Jersey, y'all. New Jersey Supreme Court. Let me just prove it. New Jersey Supreme Court. All right. New Jersey Supreme Court. We see here on the New Jersey Bar Statute 46:3-1, the first statute under Title 46, which deals with property, and the topic is feudal tenures. And feudal tenures are these boxes there. Each box you see is a feudal tenure estate. And they're saying this don't exist no more. This don't exist no more here in North America because this is a statute from New Jersey. All those feudal tenure estates that you thought you had don't exist no more. Why? Because under operation of law, the statute said it was abolished. Let's read it. And it's abolished why? Because the land is allodial. I didn't say it. The statute's going to say it. The feudal tenures of the states and the interests thereof taken away, discharged, and abolished from after March 12, 1664 by Section 2 of an act concerning tenure passed February 18, 1795, should so continue to be taken away, discharged, and abolished, and no such state or incident thereof shall at any time be created in a manner whatsoever. So this was when Charles II gave the charter to Duke of York, his family, on March 12, 1664, which in return gave the charter to Duke of York, but gave it to the proprietors, which surrendered it back in the crown because those charters were revoked. Okay? Let's go back to New Jersey and Delaware. Since William Penn got his charter from who? Duke of York. In 1682. On August 24th, matter of fact, before we do that, let me just show you the land is allodial for all those who don't know that the land is allodial. As we said, New Jersey Provincial Council was the crown, indefinite. It's indefinite. It's eternal. It just ain't been operating because I ain't here. The king wasn't here. So that means that it fell under the statute of mortmain, a dead pledge. That's why every year they go into the deficit. Section 46:3-2 of New Jersey Parliamentary Statute, which was revised by the legislator, called New Jersey Revised Statute, concerning gifts, grants, and conveyances of those gifts and grants by the state of New Jersey are dissolved. Why? Because the land is now allodial. So a lot of y'all gonna have a problem with the state, right? Y'all need to go to them right now and say, what's up with this? What's up with this? Because usually when every other state don't get to where they're going till New Jersey get there. New Jersey usually is the first state that get there. All right. It says here, all gifts, I don't care how you got it. All grants, I don't care how you got it, based upon the conveyance made prior to and after July 4th. So they even superseded what Charles II did with King Duke of York to William Penn. They let them know that whatever they did back then was disqualified because based upon the 1776 Declaration and what we're reading now, based upon the state of New Jersey concerning the allodial land, it says all gifts, grants, or conveyances made prior to and after July 4th, 1776 of any estate of inheritance by a letter patent under the great seal of the state or any other manner by the state, by the legislators thereof, or by the commissioners or agents of forfeit of the state, or by other lawful and competent authority of the state, shall be and remain allodial. No fiddle, no tenures estate, no estates in land shall forever be and continue in free and pure allodium only. Forever discharged from all fiddle tenures and incidents thereof and all other services whatsoever. I did not come to change the law, but to fulfill what the law said. In the beginning with the word was God, the word was God, the word was with God. It became flesh and dwelt amongst men. Okay, let's go back to our closing case law. On August 24th, 1682, the Duke of York delivered to William Penn a deed of feoffment to a 12-mile circle whereby he conveyed the fief. All that the town of Newcastle, otherwise called Delaware, and all that the tract of land lying within the compass of the circle of the 12 miles about the same situate lying and being upon the River Delaware in America, and all that the same River Delaware and the same River of Soyle, thereof lying north of southernmost part of the circle of the 12 miles about the same time. On October 22nd, 1682, there was a formal livery of seisin of land and waters within the 12-mile circle. John Moll and Ephriam Herman, attorneys appointed in a deed of feoffment, gave possession and seisin by delivery of the fort of the said town and leaving the said William Penn and quiet, peaceful possession thereof, and also by delivery of turf and twig and the waters of Soyle of the rivers of Delaware. We deliver also unto him the turf and twig upon its I don't know why the verbiage is like this, with the river water of Soyle and part of all what was specified in the said indentures of the deed. By force of this act, there was a conveyed to the fief of any title to the riverbed within the circle that then belonged to the fiefer. Fiefer is the trustee. Fiefer is the trustee, and the fief is the actual trust, right? By force of this act, there was a conveyed to the feoffee any title to the riverbeds within the circle that then belonged to the feoffeur. New Jersey insisted, however, that the feoffeur, the Duke of York, was not then the owner of any territory. Did y'all hear this? West of the easterly side of the Delaware River, and at the time of the feoffment, the conveyance had no title to convey. Letter patent from Charles II dated March 12, 1664. We just read that in the statute, right? We just read that in the statute. Letter patent from Charles II dated May 12, 1664 had granted to Duke full title to and government of a large territory in America, embracing much of New England and in particular all the land from the west side of the Connecticut River to the east side of the Delaware Bay, not including, however, lands of waters to the west. 2, the Duke had gone into possession of the land westward of the grant, including lands within the circle, and through his delegates and deputies was exercising power of the government. His acts in that behalf were the outcome of conflict with the Dutch. What is now the state of Delaware has been subject to the government of the Dutch until 1664, when the victory of the English arms, it became an English colony. From that time until August 24, 1682, the date of the deed of feoffment, Delaware was governed with the exception of a brief period from July 1763 to February 9, 1764, as a dependency of the government in the colony of New York through the governors commissioned by Duke of York and Albany. Upon the delivery of the deed to Penn, the Duke was the de facto overlord of the land within the circle, though title at that time was still vested in the crown. Did y'all hear that? The deed of feoffment had its covenant for further assurance at any time within 7 years at the instance of Penn, and with little delay, the feoffee took steps to carry out the covenant and thus rectify his title. On March 22nd, 1683 and 1623 and 16, on March 22, 1682 and 1683, letter pads under the Great Seal of England were issued to the Duke, was issued to the was issued to the parts of now. Or I was trying to check the chat. Read it again. Okay. So it says that William Penn, with little delay, the feoffee took steps to carry out this covenant and just rectify his title. On March 22nd, 1682 or 1683, letter patent under the Great Seal of England were issued to the Duke of York for identical lands and water described in the deed of feoffment from York to William Penn. There is no doubt that the letters were delivered to the Duke. The special masters have found upon evidence supporting the conclusion that they were afterward to deliver the pen from whom they passed to his descendants. The master also found that, again, upon sufficient evidence, that the letter patents so delivered were never thereafter surrendered, nor was the grant of land and waters thereby made ever abandoned, nor was its validity ever impaired by any act or proceeding. By force of this grant, there passed to Duke of York a title to land within the circle which inured by estoppel to the grantee under the feoffment. The application principle in such circumstances is among the rudiment of law of property. The covenant generating the estoppel is commonly only one of warranty or seisin. Okay? To enforce that conclusion, we do not need to wander far afield and consider other deeds than the specific one in question. There exists for our enlightenment the opinion of the Chancellor and a historic litigation where the relation between a feoffment of August 1682 and the latter patent from the Crown was the very point at issue. A dispute has arisen between Lord Baltimore and Penn as to the title to part of the Delaware territory. On May 10, 1732, after Penn was in his grave, there was an agreement between two of his sons and Baltimore for the settlement of the boundaries between Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. 3 years later, a bill was filed in Chancery for the specific performance of the agreement of May 1732, for which the suit, the Attorney General was made a party as the representative of the Crown. This is called interpleader, y'all. This is called interpleader for the Crown, all right, for one of office. The Duke of York had become king under the name of James II on February 6, 1685, and George II sat upon the throne when the cause in Chancery was heard. Lord Chancellor Hartwig gave judgment for the Penns. In his opinion, he holds that the effect of the letter patent is to make the deed of feoffment good either by force of an estoppel or by converting the feoffee into a trustee for the feoffee. The objection is urged upon him that the estoppel will not prevail against the Crown. The Chancellor makes it plain that he is not favorably impressed. For the Duke of York being then, i.e., of the date of the feoffment in nature, a common person, you hear that? A commoner was in condition to be stopped by a proper instrument. At the same time, he's different about declaring a technical estoppel, nor is there need to go so far. If his majesty was not stopped, he was in any event a trustee of the title for the use of the feoffee, which will bring about a like result. The Duke of York, while a subject was to be considered as a trustee, but not afterwards as a royal trustee, his successors take the legal estate under the same equity and is sufficient for the plaintiff if they had an equitable estate. So Lord Baltimore must make a performance in accordance with the contract. True, the decree for performance will be without prejudice to any prerogative right or interest in the Crown. Did y'all hear that? This, again, is by virtue of the deferring owning to the Crown by the keeper of the king's consciousness. That is the Lord Chancellor. Called the king's consciousness, all right? Being liberated from the restraint of the Lord Chancellor, we are at liberty to say that the Duke, at the date of the deeds being a subject, was in respect only a common person and as much bound to the estoppel as any other subject. Did you hear that? All right, so there you have it. Make sure I covered everything. All right, so I think that's it, everyone. So let me stop and share my screen and open the floor for questions by any person in regards to the subject matter only. Right? Any questions, please shoot now. Forever hold your peace. Yes, it's possible to take over the mortal count, but the only person who can do that is the king. Everyone else who are heirs or subjects are assumed to be dead right now. You don't exist in the eyes of the state. There are no English heirs inside in the eyes of the state. The only English heirs that are recognized in the eyes of the state that are those who are affiliated with the English Third Temple Church of England. All right, and your resurrection came through me. Okay, the only way you can regain interest in the state is by receiving a charter through me, i.e., permission through me. Outside of that, you have no separate accounts. You have no separate estates. Everything is subject to the king's domain. This is the lotio by nature, subject to what we call the king's radical title. Okay? So I don't want anyone to come into this platform thinking that you can act outside this platform in regards to payment of interest or some type of conveyance in the estate that you assume belong to you, because it don't belong to you. Okay? It was abandoned a long time ago. No, you do not own your property. That's why when you have a escrow account, an escrow account is an account set up for taxes. That's the purpose of an escrow account, for the taxes that are calculated for the time of the loan. Okay, and when that mortgage is paid off, you still will be paying those taxes. Those are called encumbrances that the state initiate by way of the eminent domain power of the state, which is to take private property for public use. And when you take private property for public use, it's based off usury. You make money off it. You can't own it, but you make money off it. Yes, a lotio is the only thing that exists, and the only person that can own that lotio title is the crown. And the only person that can act as the crown is the king through what we call the office of corporation sole, which has been done by me. Yes, once you enter these doors, ain't no turning back. And you do not want to be expelled from those doors because ain't no coming back. Okay? Blessed are those who partake part in the first resurrection, for which there is no sting. Okay? Once again, blessed are those who partake in the first resurrection, for which there will be no sting of death. But those who take place in the second resurrection, you are going to have to be tested. All right? You're being tested now. You're being tested now. Life is a test. Are you going to walk away from the test? Are you going to stand up to the test, whether you fail or pass. It's to keep fighting. Exactly. You see the truth mentally, not physically. The truth you see is a it's a mental view of the truth. Your mind brought this truth to you. Your body didn't. Your body wants to go play ball or eat popcorn or do whatever it wants to do. Tend to its nature. But that's not your nature. That's not the mental nature of yourself, the true self. Your mental nature or the true nature of the self is the nature of your ancestors, which is the mental frequency of your ancestors. Because the only thing truly living is the mental frequency, the mind, matter. Your mind is not made of matter. Your mind is made of antimatter, ether. Okay. So with that, I'm going to close out. Once again, uh, uh, the Sabbath day is today, and under the Sabbath, we all must rest from the iniquities that we indulge in, whereby force, or by will, or by ignorance. We must rest. We must come and be washed, be clean. And the only way you can go and be clean is to the Abbey, the Bath Abbey. And we know the Bath Abbey, as we know it was the Abbey of Westminster, which was based upon that which was established by King Edgar the Peaceful, our Jesus Christ, which was established for the monastery of Benedictine monks, which represents the school of Black monks. Okay, characteristics, not genealogy. Okay, so honor your Sabbath, honor your king, and honor your ancestors, and all will be well. And with that, I say peace. And on the note, I'll try to make it to the Sabbath day meeting, but that will be under the auspices of Archbishop Belmont and Bishop Searchy. Okay? So any questions, please reach out to the Dirty England Church of England website. Make sure you pay your church dues. Make sure you make your donations, those who are able to do so. Make sure you fill out the applications for memberships, as well as all that is required of you as established by the officers of the Third English Church. And once again, if time permits me, I'll definitely make myself known at the Sabbath day. But the Sabbath day is to honor me as your king, as I honor those who sat in that seat before me. Right? So with that, I greeted you as I greeted you, as always, in peace and love.